So we've just arrived to Cheshire Lake, which is a small, intimate, private venue in central France. There's fish to over 70 pounds and we have the lake exclusively. Just had a little trot around. You've got a far bank with no swims along it, so we have a little wander down there, sort of appear in the bushes. One of the first things I noticed, there was a couple of branches that you could see had been pulled from the lake, and they were absolutely smothered in massive zebra mussels. Also saw the odd crayfish shell litter in the bank, so there's definitely a lot of natural food within the water. We've just spoken to the owner, David. He controls the fishing here, and the first thing that he said was that he expects us to catch the fish in open water as opposed to against the far bank. It was the complete opposite of what I was anticipating. For some reason I just had it in my head or in my imagination that we're going to be fishing all the rods against the tree line where all the fish were holding up, but that's not the case. Apparently a lot of fish will be in open water, and that's where we should be targeting. He did mention that there's a lot of crayfish in the lake and a lot of natural food. He said obviously the crayfish, he said there's obviously the mussels that we'd seen, and also some shrimp. So the fish they've got plenty to eat. He said the lake is very difficult compared to the other venues that he knows and fishes. He said because the fish have so much natural food. He has photos of 72 different fish from the lake, but he thinks there's probably a few more that have not been caught as yet. But yeah, it looks really interesting. The two, as you pull in, you've got 3 swims right as you pull in through the gate, right near the toilet, right near the little lodge that they've got up there. And you can see from those swims that they see 10 times as much angling pressure as these two at the far end. You can just see from the ground, there's no bivvy marks down here, and you can, at the other end, you can see that it gets fished. And for that reason, I think we're going to start at this end. I've seen 2 fish jump out as we walk round. One was tight against the tree line in that far corner, and one was in open water just out here. And we've also seen quite a bit of bubbling out here. You know, there's quite a few patches of bubbling going on around the lake, and to me they do look like carp. Sometimes it's just the bottom letting out gas, but I actually think these are definitely feeding fish. I've been watching them sort of move around and stuff. But yeah, we've got the whole lake exclusively. We haven't got to worry about certain swims getting taken, and I feel that this is going to be a good starting point with the wind blowing down here, the bubbling and what we've seen. But my opening line of attack is going to be a softly approach. It'd be all too easy because you're allowed to take your rods out in the boat to pump up the boat, fly around with the engine on and the echo sounder, and let every fish in the lake know that you're here, which I imagine there's weeks go by when there isn't any anglers on here, and the fish quickly realise that and are more happy and feeding more freely. So the opening line of attack is going to probably be tigers and hemp in the bait boat because of the crayfish, and just take it out to where maybe we see some fish showing this evening, or where I've noticed a little bit of bubbling. But yeah, softly introduction, and we'll take it from there. Don't want to carry the gear too far. Been a while, mate. Not seen you for a little while, bait boat boy. Where you been? What you been up to? Looking forward to using you this week. Take all the stress away. Right, well, as there's a few fish about, and I think one of the most important things here will be the stealth. You know, I don't want to go in, start marking up, go out in the boat and start clonking around. I'm thinking that just dropping handful of bait, handful of tigers, bit of hemp, exactly where the fish are, will be a really good chance for a quick bite before they know we're here. Well, that's the thought anyway. I'm going to put what's that? About 10 tigers in there. A good handful in there. And scoop of hemp, 1 scoop of hemp. What? Okay, so this is roughly the range where the bubbling was. Really close in, I'd say about 40 yards. Gonna just come a little bit to the left of that. The bottom seems to be fairly flat, uniform, 13 foot, which is cool. And one of the most important things about dropping from a bait boat is trying to keep your bait and your rig as one, but at the same time I would like to feel the lead down and try not to swing it away too much. So, right, you ready? Ready? Like that. Looks good to me, that. I'm too far out, look. I reckon we're on them. The fish are actually closer in than I've gone out, but we'll leave it be for a minute. But that is madness. That is 30 yards, not 40. Right, I've just put one rod out, put the left-hand one out, where I'd seen a bit of bubble in it. I'd seen the bubble in what I thought was 40 yards, so I've sent the boat out to approximately that, just roughly in the zone where I'd seen it. Bottom's fairly flat, sort of 12, 13 foot deep. Just dropped it. Nice drop, silty bottom, clear on the echo sounder. Anyway, while I'm letting the line sink, getting my rod down on the rest, the bait boat's drifting in on the wind, and I've suddenly looked back at the echo sounder, the screen from the tablet, which is displaying what the echo sound is reading, and about a rod length or so back from where I dropped, suddenly loads of fish appeared on the screen. So I've gone fractionally too far. I'm not going to move it, I'm going to leave it be, but I'm really convinced, the bubbling that we've seen, the odd fish topping, and now that on the screen, there's a good amount of fish here. The wind's blowing in. It's time to get the rods out. Got in there. Oh, that was good. That was good. That was really good. Really nice hard drop there. Slightly shallower than the surrounding. That's all the rods in the money. I hope so anyway. Right then, decided to have a little move. There were definitely fish in front of us down there last night, and there's definitely fish still down there now. But from what I've seen, I've seen some bubbling in this corner to my left of where I am. I've just seen a fish jump out on this tree line over to the right. We saw one there yesterday evening as well. And there's a plateau out in the middle here that the owner David has recommended as a pretty good hot spot on the lake. And I don't know, I felt a little bit sort of one-dimensional down that end of the lake. It's quite hard to spread your rods out without cutting other rods off. I feel from this position I've got a greater scope to vary what I'm going to do. I'm definitely going to send one towards that tall tree where he reckons it comes up about 1 metre out there. It's sort of a hard spot in the middle of the lake. In the middle of the lake is always is a good place to target. especially in the autumn. You know, you're never going to be far wrong fishing around the middle of the lake. So that's one rod that I'm going to take his advice. But also I want to chase what I'm seeing, and there's been a lot of bubbling just here, a lot of bubbling in this corner. And I'm thinking if I can get one right round over there as well, I'm covering loads and loads of water, while at the same time not having sort of lines cutting myself off. This one will be like tight down the edge, this one will be tight down the edge, and then I'll just have one out into the middle. So that's what I'm thinking. Similar tactics to the night before in that I'm going to use tigers and hemp because of the crayfish situation, and I'm going to put a little bit more in the boat. Speaking to David, he thinks that I should have sort of half a kilo, a pound of hemp in the boat and a quarter of a kilo of tigers, rather than just a handful and a handful. Basically let them know you're there a little bit more. So that's what I'm thinking. Going to get them out while it's nice and flat calm, and we'll take it from there. Okay then, second evening, flat calm, 3 rods out, all in sort of different parts of the lake as such. You know, one in close out here to the left where I've seen some bubbling, one out on a bit of a shallow area in the middle, and one down a tree line in sort of half depth. Probably my right hand rod that I'm most confident in. I just think that, I don't know, it's a bit more forced traffic, but we will see. I'm not overly confident. I've got a little bit of anxiety about the amount of bubbling that I'm seeing. The fish are definitely feeding, and at this time of year, you know, I'm sitting here thinking I wish I had some maggots with me. I don't know if you'd be able to fish them because of nuisance fish, but it's certainly something that I'm thinking about. I'm paranoid that everyone that fishes here uses tigers and hemp because of the crayfish, which is naturally a good bait when you've got numbers of crayfish in the venue. But if everyone is fishing the same, it doesn't take a lot for the fish to cotton on and start to ignore those type of baits. So yeah, a little bit of anxiety that will quickly go away if I catch one. But if I don't catch one, I'll be getting more and more paranoid by the moment. So yeah, that's where we're at. Second night in. Big wind due tomorrow. That's one thing that I've not mentioned. Like a stronger wind sort of blowing into this corner of the lake. So we're well set for that, and we'll just have to see what happens. Oh, Scarface! Okay then, so 48 hours in, no fish. Can't say it's because we're not on them, because there's been fish jumping all over the lake. Got the whole lake to myself. They've been jumping near my rigs at times, but nothing's happening. It feels like they just don't want what I'm offering. You know, tigers and hemp, brilliant, brilliant baits. You probably know how much of a fan I am of tiger nuts. But I just think that if they've been overly fished, then that could be one of the issues. So I'm going to try a straight sweet corn approach. I know the crays will eat it a little bit, but I've got double rubber plastic maize on the hook, so it should be all right. But a change is as good as the rest, as they say. I'm going to go a slightly different spot as well. I'm going to fish a little bit shorter, so I'm not fishing over the hemp and tigers that I've already put in. Definitely heard fish here last night as well. Looks really nice on the echo sounder. I'm just checking the depth and seeing if I can see if there's any sort of debris on the bottom. Obviously when you're fishing close to the trees, there's lots of potential for twigs and stuff like that on the bottom. But it appears pretty good, to be fair. Just over 2 metres deep. Literally right against the trees, that. Right, well that's all 3 back out on the change of tactics, all of them on double slow sinking maize, and they've got between 2 and 3 tins of sweet corn over each. The right ambrod of these 2 is back out onto what is a bit of a plateau out there. It doesn't come up a large amount, but it's coming out sort of 13 feet of water onto sort of nearly 10. So it's like a couple of 3 feet different. You can see on the Echo Sounder it's quite hard. It's in the central body of the lake, so it's quite likely to see some traffic at some point. You know, we've seen fish all around the lake, so they're definitely swimming around and not just in one part. The left-hand rod, I've gone out sort of into the calmer water. We've seen a couple of fish top out there in the daytime and heard them there at night. Just took it out again, waited to see on the Echo Sounder if there's any sort of changes of depth out there. And again, I've put it on a slightly shallower bit. You know, we're talking minuscule amounts. It's only coming up like 1 or 2 feet, but the raised areas are likely to be harder, and that's what I've gone with. I really don't know whether or not to be confident. You know, when we arrived, having a lake exclusive, super confident. But we've been here 48 hours, fishing well, fishing stealthily, seeing them jump and not catching. I had a little WhatsApp conversation with my friend Constant, who's got a lake in France near here, and he was saying a similar sort of thing on his lake, fishing very slow at the moment, and he's also been capturing crayfish and selling them to a local restaurant. And he said at the moment they've literally just laid their eggs in his lake, and there's micro crayfish everywhere, which he thinks that the fish in his lake have switched onto. Now, that is a possibility. It could be a very convenient excuse, but I feel better for changing something. Didn't want to just stick it out doing the same thing over and over and over. You know, on a lake that's got lots of crayfish, that sees a lot of tigers and hemp, then the change to something else could make the difference. Sweet corn is one of my go-to sort of autumn baits, go-to spring baits. I think the crayfish will have a go at it, but there should be enough. You know, 2 or 3 cans. It's going to be dropping a nice yellow patch. Very visual. You know, fish swim over that, they're going to see it. The water's clear enough to see 1 or 2 metres through the water. Got a lot of smell to it. So, yeah, no bream and tench, just the crayfish to worry about. And let's see what this change of tactic does. Right, so have a little rechuck, rod in the corner. Just seen 3 fish in quick succession down there, so try and beat the light. Finally, just laying there in the sleeping bag, early hours of the morning, wondering if the sweet corn was going to do it, when suddenly the middle rod was pulled up tight. Big breakthrough that, getting a bite. Ooh, come on. Still on. Yeah. Easy does it. Don't do it. Get in there. Yes. Yes, we got him. Oh. And the deadlock is broken.